my thought process behind this is it's not our responsibility to maintain anybody else's anything, right? But if we're a community, communities protect, communities preserve, communities persevere. And so
Tastemakers.
Class. We do more than make a living, we make a life. When everything is dark, we are the light. We are the tastemakers, aight. Let tomorrow tell the stories that we make tonight. We do more than make a living.
This conversation comes up at many time, and Kiera, I'll let you go ahead and introduce that. Last topic of the night, guys.
So Tashina Arnold asked a question, guys. She
A
said,
couple years ago. Yeah.
right, and it's resurfaced. I don't know
Yes,
why.
it has.
What can
About a
what
year ago.
can we as Black women do in America? What can we as Black women in America do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? And she asked that question. I don't think she asked that question from a bad place, but the way people had attitudes with Tashina for saying this, and I'm just like, I get what she was trying to say. She asked this in 2022, April 13th of 2022. I don't even know what was happening for her to ask that question. Usually there's something brewing on the in the air on these streets for these kinds of thought-provoking questions to be asked by people in those statuses in those of the stature. And so my people of course were, like, oh, it's not our responsibility to push forth what a Black man's image. Black men created their own image, and that wasn't what she said. My thought process behind this is it's not our responsibility to maintain anybody else's anything, right? But if we're a community, communities protect, communities preserve, communities persevere. And so I'm very big on leading from the second chair, right? Like I don't want to be first chair person. I don't want to be head honcho. I don't want the head spot at the table. I do not want the head spot at the table. Bro, you can have this head spot, but I use my influence in that second chair in a way to make sure that the first chair does what they need to do. I do that in every space I'm ever in, right? And so to say that Black women have absolutely no responsibility in the way Black men are portrayed is to say you don't have any influence in the way that they present themselves in the world. And I think that's false. I know a lot of Black women who may disagree with me because they're like, Black men are grown, they're their own people, they can do whatever they want to do. And that's true. Y'all are grown men. But let's not act like we don't have influence over grown men or influence with grown men. And so I disagree that Black men have single-handedly tarnished their own reputation. I disagree that Black men are responsible for their own images in the media. I think that we have a role in, absolutely, the same way we expect but the same way we say protect Black women, protect Black men too. I'm raising both Black women and Black men in my house, and so I make it the responsibility for them to protect one another. And the way that they present themselves in the world. I hold them accountable to hold one another accountable. And so I'm not a pick me, and sometimes I've been called a pick me, which makes me real irritated because I'm like, yo, if nobody's a pick me, if anybody is not a pick me, is key trust. But like, yo, we are like you have the responsibility of like saying, bruh, don't do this, bruh, don't do that. Or if
What's
people
a
say
pygmy?
Black men, huh?
What's a pygmy? Maybe
A
it's getting
pick-me,
late. Maybe.
woman, a pick me is described as a woman who will usurp who will not usurp, but who will undermine Black women's efforts as a means of being chosen by Black men. So if there's an issue that Black women need to be addressed, a pick me will undermine that effort as a means of being put in the head, being brought to the head of the class, if you will, so be chosen by men over above the women who may be making the noise or ruffling the feathers. And
I've
so,
never heard of that. That's cool. I mean, that's
yeah,
interesting to know.
it's a people. I mean, we call girls. A lot. The pick me term is thrown around a lot with women who may not necessarily be like, um, who may not necessarily agree with all of the things all of the time. I personally think that as Black women, we have influence, and if you use your influence well, you can absolutely steer the way a man moves in the world if you're using your influence for good. Now, some women use their influence for bad, but I yeah, what can we do? My thought process is Lead from the second chair well.
Lead from the second chair well. I like it. I sent you a text message.
Me?
But anyway, yeah, you. Anyway, uh, are black women responsible for black men's emasculation? Goss.
Not 100%. No. I think black men have done a fine job already emasculating themselves. So they're not responsible for something that they can control. So we, as black men, sometimes search for an identity because we're trying to find our space in life and trying to find our purpose. Because the 2020s women and the 2000 women have had the message of we don't need no man and we don't need no man to make us happy or for anything. And there's this idea that them needing a man is like it's an ancient thing, and I think that goes along with the traditions that we have forsook and the way that we were raised, and everybody's trying to turn everything upside down because they don't like the way that has been done. So with that, black men have been emasculated because they don't have a place anymore. They feel like they don't have a place and that they don't have any kind of value to the black woman. So when you don't have value, you're bound to abuse. When you don't know the value of something or someone, you're bound to abuse it. So now we're trying to find our value in other things that people would consider ourselves. Um, well, people will consider that we are emasculating ourselves because of that value that we're trying to find. So that's why I don't put it all on black women, but I do think they play a little part, but not all of it, because I would never put the responsibility of what I'm supposed to do as a man on another sex and say, "Oh, well, I can't do this because you're doing this."
What would you say is the position, is the role that they play in it? Matter of fact, hold that question. I'll come back to it. Brina.
Yeah. Um I think I think that
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm weak.
Oh Lord God. I'm sorry. This is something else going on behind the scenes. Go ahead, Brina.
I think that
That's
for
too crazy.
a long time, so for a while, like black women have had to carry a lot, and some black men who
Okay.
aren't doing what they should be, if a black woman calls out the obvious, then they get upset, and that's labeled as a lack of respect.
Mm.
And so I think when I remember seeing this tweet last year, there were a lot of conversations around that on both sides. So I think a lot of it um, is on black men too. Like they got to do better. Um, because if black women are only responding to what we're saying, then what exactly do we need to change? And I do know like there's a lot of negativity that gets spewed out that has to stop. You know, a lot of people have to stop being childish too. But on the I just think seriously, it's just they got to do better if you want to see better. And I don't know why this tweet resurfaced because we already covered this in detail, but just saying.
All right. So Goss had brought up something. What percentage of this or what part of it do you think that black women play in emasculating men?
25%.
I'm sorry. I asked what percentage. My question was really what part.
Uh, Biblically speaking, men need women and women need men, right? And men
Not,
need women. You don't think so?
not just biblically.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. I like to come from a place of authority when I talk. People understand I'm not talking, but the Bible says it's all good. So, biblically speaking, the order of life is that we need each other, and men need women for the affirmation, for the things to bounce ideas off of for the person that they can provide for their, like, they need to be feel wanted, they need to feel loved, cared, and that kind of thing. I mean, and vice versa, the women need that as well too. So if women are telling us that they don't need us for nothing, then we don't feel those things, and we don't feel loved and valued and things like that. So that part is what I was talking about.
Okay. And then there are some straight. I mean, this has produced also just the nature of the beast. Whether it was, you know, what a third. What is it? What was it? What was it used to be? I forgot what the stat used to be, but like a third of all black men were either in jail or under controlled substance or something like that.
Yeah,
And with those dynamics, with the crack epidemic, with racism in America, with all the systematic nonsense as well, with welfare, with so many things, there's been so many things that have separated the men out of his uh, role in the black family. Many things. I used a bunch of excuses there, but of course, based on his own choices, even if it was his choice to get hooked on crack cocaine, if it was his choice to, you know, rob and steal, or whatever the case may be, right? So, a third, right? So that's caused the woman to have to really run shop and run everything, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times independently, and whatever the case may be. So eventually that develops and morphs into a I don't need no man type joint, which has actually made some downright man eaters. You feel what I'm saying?
yeah,
That ideology over time has created some man eaters, and you y'all been around, y'all seen that husband or that couple, whatever case may be, where that woman is on him like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's business, and you're like, "Ooh, that was so disrespectful, sis,"
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case may be. Y'all done seen that, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So for as much as y'all have seen that, think about when that's happening, and the woman has enough coof to make sure that everybody else don't see it, but it's actually happening too. So all that being said, mixed with societal woes or whatever the case may be, I think what everybody has said is just the truth. We all play a part in how we all are perceived, or how we all feel. Uh, the non-protection of black women, the emasculation of black men, the you know independence of black women, the uh, the what else is another? There's so many different tropes that we all play a part of pushing each other in, and I believe there was some exterior forces as well that helped to systematically make some of these things happen as well. But yeah, so it all plays a part, unfortunately. Um, yeah, men need women, women need men, and so
I
whenever
know.
something's off, yeah, go for it.
I'm just like I look at the way so on a serious, like I know I joke like, oh, I'm out here with y'all daddies and y'all uncles and stuff, but I on a serious note, like I look at the affirm like how black men respond to me when I affirm them. They behave so awkwardly most of the time. 9 times out of 10 when I say, wow, you're really handsome, or wow, you did that really well, or wow, your emotional intelligence is actually impressive. They are so awkward hearing that compliment the first, like it's like I cannot compete. I'm like, yo, you've never been affirmed, because look how you acting right now.
yeah,
And then it's like, yo, who? So peel back the curtain. Let me see what your upbringing was like, because how much work is it going to take to build you up? You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm just like, affirm them as children so they don't need they don't be looking for affirmation everywhere else as adults. But also, if you see them as adults and they need affirming, it does not cost you anything to compliment a man. It does not cost anything to tell a man he is getting better. I just had a conversation with several brothers at my church. When I got to my church, they were one way. I literally was individually talking to them. I was like, you guys, I just want to say, you guys, your emotional intelligence has grown since I've known you. Y'all were way more hot headed and not and temperamental than you are right now. And I have to let you know that I see you growing. and I appreciate you growing. And if for no other reason, you'll be suitable husbands for the sisters who are in your age bracket. Like I got to compliment. Like I have to say that to y'all, and and the way that they responded, it was like, thanks, Key. It was like, yeah, I know that was uncomfortable to hear. Like, lean into it next time. Just breathe and lean into it next time, baby. It's easier for you. But just no, we need each other. I know the systems that systematic racism and slavery and Jim Crow and prison industrial complex and welfare, all of those things were designed to obliterate the black family unit, the black nuclear family unit. But we can, I'm not saying black men have no onus in it. I'm not saying that at all. There's absolutely, because we can only influence from the second chair. But in as much as we can, let's do that.
Amen, and vice versa. Let's take care of each other. Let's lift each other up. Let's encourage each other. Let's get the proper help, therapy wise and deliverance wise, that we don't thrive off of tearing other people down. And we can be better partners for each other, all of us across the board. So that's that. Yep. Let's hit the chat real quick and then we'll wrap things up. I was not a heated discussion as I kind of wish it would have been. That would have been so much fun.
Oh, I know.
That's what happens when you mock me. You disappear. Let's see here. Yeah, Judon mentioned this. I mean, there's that competition between black men and women and black women. But again, I think some of that stuff, I go back, Judon, I think it's systematic. It's that competition has been bred out of a level of necessity and some things systematically. That's just my thought process with the man being removed from the home and different things of that nature. So that's thought.
Tastemakers. Class. We do more than make a living, we make a life. When everything is dark, we are the light. We are the tastemakers. Aight. Let tomorrow tell the stories that we make tonight. We do more than make a living, we make